Hey, this is part two of my reasons for not standing up for WWE, and particularly for the McMahons, but it's their company. So, when they ask you to stand up for WWE, they're asking you, hey, help our family, help Linda, help, you know, uh, tell everybody that these bad people who are saying bad things about us are full of crap. And fact is that no, they're not. You know, and by tomorrow, we'll know whether Linda won or lost the election, and if she wins, then she'll get to have bigger say, a much bigger say than usual in what the law is and how she needs to treat her employees. And and if she loses, of course, expect Vince to cry like a bitch, and expect there to be a lot of talk about how the mainstream media screwed the McMahons. And to paraphrase Vince himself, no, Vince screwed Vince this time, and the reason that he's got such a bad reputation is because he earned it by being a bad person. And his wife was along for the ride, didn't object to anything. Now, I'll get to the first thing, and to read this, I gotta, I gotta put on the glasses like I'm getting an email from the Raw general manager. So this is about independent contractor status and a lawsuit that Raven and Canyon and a guy that I haven't heard of before, but they brought this lawsuit a while ago. It says former WWE performers Scott Raven Levy, Christopher Canyon Clusardis, and above average Michael Sanders claim they should have been treated as employees because the Stamford, Connecticut-based WWE controls their salaries, performance locations, costumes, training regimen, and the storylines they follow. Further, the lawsuit alleged the WWE improperly withheld Social Security and Medicare taxes from the federal government because of the wrestlers' independent contractor status. The wrestler's attorney, David Golub of Silver, Golub, and Titel in Stamford, also claimed that the wrestlers were denied employee benefits such as health care, paid sick time, and vacation. Okay, as I said in the first video I made, 300 days a year, 300 days of really strenuous, physically taxing and mentally taxing work. If that's not a full-time employee, I do not know what is. And, I will grant you that yes, the WWE does pay in a lot of cases for things like rehab and health care if somebody gets hurt and such, but they could be doing more. And if these guys were classified as full-time employees, they would be entitled to more than they're getting. But everybody else in every other line of work pretty much is entitled to more than what these guys get. But Vince, like I said, it's all about the money. And he classifies these guys as independent contractors because he doesn't want to pay any more than he has to. And, they don't have the same rights that most other people do, and they ought to have those rights. But since Vince pretty much has a stranglehold on the industry, he can get away with denying them what they should have, and he won't let them unionize. And I wish that they would get together and all get on the same page and threaten to all walk if he didn't negotiate with them. But they're too afraid to do that, because if Vince hears that anybody's trying to organize a strike or a union or whatever, then that person is shit canned. And where are they going to go to work? You know, TNA is just a mess right now. And the Indies is if they go to the Indies, they're taking a big pay cut. So yeah, there's that, and that's a shitty way to be treating your employees. In addition to the horrible schedule, in addition to the pressure to use steroids and such. So that's another thing that pisses me off. Now, as far as the female talent goes and how they're treated, which is something I mentioned in the last video, basically, and I am not the only one to say this, in WWE these days, they just want women who serve as eye candy. And if a woman can wrestle, great, but that's just gravy for them. Basically, you gotta just look good. That's why the Bella twins are employed. That's why Kelly and Eve are employed, because they look good. And you know, the instance that pissed me off the most, and I sure wasn't the only one who was pissed off about this, was the way they treated Mickie James. You know, because there were legitimately people in the organization who thought that she was fat. She is not, by any stretch of the imagination, fat. She isn't right now. She wasn't when she was still with the company. It was ridiculous. But they made up that whole Piggy James angle to humiliate her in public and basically punish her for not looking the way they wanted her to. You know, and the way they wanted her to look was like anorexic Michelle McCool. And it was bullshit. And that feud did end with her getting released from the company. And that's a horrible way to treat an employee. And yes, she did win against Michelle in a squash match. But then Michelle beat her, or I think maybe it was Layla who did, whatever. But she lost the women's title shortly after she'd won it, and then they tossed her out. They fired her, and there was that. So yeah, the company won't hire Awesome Kong, for instance, because they don't, or Amazing Kong, Kia Stevens, because they don't, you know, regardless of how talented she is, they don't think she has the right look. They want only women who look like supermodels and who have fake tits. And they probably wouldn't hire Sarah Del Rey either, despite the fact that Sarah Del Rey is immensely talented as a wrestler and above average, in my opinion, when it comes to the way she looks. But she's not like supermodel beautiful, so WWE wouldn't want her. And even if they did get her, they'd probably put her in like bullshit matches like pillow fight, like a pillow fight thing, or a Pilgrims versus Indians thing if it's Thanksgiving, or whatever. You know the bullshit diva matches that they put on. That if I were involved in one of those, if I were in the position of one of those women, I would be mortified. Totally mortified, no matter how much money I was making. So there's that, and then there's Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan if you prefer. Things are going pretty well for him now, but remember when he first got to the company, and they had him jobbing to like everybody who is now a member of the Nexus, to fucking Michael Tarver, who was, and Tarver was booked to look pretty pathetic. They had him jobbing to Tarver and to Heath Slater and everybody, when he deserved better than that. But remember that promo he cut about how Vince likes guys that Vince created? Was one of the things he said. That was kind of the shoot, because, you know, and I admit that I'm guessing here, but I'm going by what other people have said, what I've read from other people. It would not surprise me in the least if Vince signed Bryan Danielson, and just so he could make Bryan Danielson job to a bunch of unknown nobodies from FCW, as if to say to the internet wrestling community, hey everybody, look at this guy who you think is so great from the indies. Look at how pathetic he looks lying down for a Michael Tarver or a Heath Slater or a David Otunga. See, you know, this guy is worthless because he wasn't made by WWE. And that's pretty much, it's pretty, you know, it wouldn't be the first time Vince did that. After WCW went out of business, he signed Diamond Dallas Page, who is a main eventer in WCW. And he wanted to send a message that, hey, this guy wasn't a WWE creation, and therefore he's shit. So I'm going to put him in a match against The Undertaker. I'm going to have The Undertaker totally humiliate him. And that's what happened. And DDP deserved better, too. Vince is a dick like that. And, of course, after Daniel Bryan, was like just totally fucking jobbed out for what seemed like forever, finally they started kind of pushing him. Finally, you know, he was in this feud with Michael Cole and The Miz, and he got a clean victory over The Miz, and it seemed like, you know, they were finally going to start using this guy right. And then they fired him for just doing his job, for doing what he was told to do. You know, assuming that was not a work. But I believe it was real. That he was really fired because he choked Justin Roberts with a tie and kicked Cena, you know, and spit on him, and he was just doing what he was told to do. And it's bullshit. And okay, they did the right thing when they brought him back, but it was bullshit that he was fired in the first place. And so yeah, that pretty much concludes it. And I see I've almost gone on for 15 minutes again, so I'm gonna wrap it up. And so yeah, you got the steroids, you got the painkillers, and how, you know, a lot of guys in the organization feel the need to use those things, and it's bad for them, and it can make them die early. You've got the 300 workday a year schedule that, you know, is terrible on a person's body. You got them being classified as independent contractors and denied benefits that they ought to have. You have them getting embarrassed and booked in and fired for stupid ass reasons, and all of that combined is why I'm not going to defend WWE. I'm not going to defend the McMahons. No, they don't deserve it. If they treated their employees better, then I would be willing to stand up for them. But they tend to treat their employees like shit. So I don't want to stand up for them. And that is the way it is. So, that's it. Have a good one.